Here at Essence with Chin, you'll be guided into emotional and meaningful philosophical stories, each one a small slice of life, a place where love, compassion, and hope are gently lit. Listen with me to each story to slow down, reflect, and rediscover the beauty of life and the people around us. Because sometimes, even the smallest act can touch an entire heart. Put on your headphones and listen to the story that follows. Story: The Clock That Stopped at 7:16. At the end of a small alley stood a wooden house, and inside it hung a clock frozen at 7:16. A thin crack cut across its glass face like a dry lightning bolt. The house belonged to Mr. Lamb, the last clockmaker of the town. People no longer brought clocks to him. Everyone carried time on their phones now. His shop grew silent, kept alive only by the faint, uneven ticking of a few old clocks, like the shallow breaths of a fading century. One morning, a young woman knocked on his door. Her name was Anne, and she carried a tarnished silver pocket watch engraved with a chrysanthemum. "It belonged to my grandmother," she said, "but it stopped the day she passed away." Mr. Lamb held the watch to his ear. No ticking. He opened the back, revealing gears clogged with dust. He cleaned them with alcohol, dried them gently, added a tiny drop of oil. The second hand trembled but did not move. "It'll take a few days," he said. "Leave your number," and nodded, looking around the walls lined with clocks of every kind: cuckoo clocks, pendulum clocks, round ones, square ones. The room felt like a quiet museum. She pointed at the frozen clock on the wall. "Why do you keep that one if it doesn't run?" He smiled. "To remember the day I got lost." Years ago, when his wife was alive, they had a daily ritual: dinner together at 7 p.m. One night, a large order of clocks kept him at the shop. When he finally returned home, his wife was asleep, dinner cold. The clock in the dining room had stopped at 7:16. He tried to repair it, but it refused to run. The next day, his wife was rushed to the hospital after a sudden episode. At exactly 7:16 that evening, her heart monitor flattened. "Since then," he said gently, "I let it stay still. Not because it can't be fixed, but because some moments aren't meant to move again." And said nothing. Time, she realized, was like a shadow. The more it stretches, the more it reveals what stands still behind it. In the days that followed, Anne began visiting the shop, sometimes with pastries, sometimes with flowers. She watched him work, listened to his stories. She confided in him too. She had been offered a managerial job in Hanoi, but feared leaving the hometown where her grandmother rested. Mr. Lamb said, "Every clock has a small margin of error, a natural drift. You can adjust it, but you can never make it perfect. Life is the same. If you try too hard to live flawlessly, you'll wind your spring until it breaks." They both laughed softly. Gradually, neighbors noticed the warm glow of the clock shop again. They dropped by for small repairs, but mostly to talk, to remember old times. The shop came alive, not because of clocks, but because people found an excuse to gather. One rainy afternoon, and received her official acceptance letter for the job in Hanoi. She rushed to the shop with mixed feelings. Mr. Lamb was polishing the silver watch. Under the warm lamp, it gleamed like honey. "It's ready," he said. He wound it gently. A clean, steady tick filled the air, and felt her eyes sting. "If I leave," she murmured, "what will you do?" He chuckled. "I'll keep doing what I've always done, waiting." He looked at the frozen clock. Some moments aren't meant to run, but everything else must. On the day Anne left for Hanoi, she visited one last time. Mr. Lamb wrapped the pocket watch carefully. "When you miss home," he said, "open it and listen. Time is the breath of those who loved you." She left a small gift on his counter, the minute hand from the 7:16 clock. "Keep it," she said, "or put it back when you're ready." A year later, Anne returned unannounced and found Mr. Lamb standing before the 7:16 clock with the minute hand in his fingers. "You came just in time," he said. "I think it's ready to run again." He attached the hand, oiled the gears, set the pendulum swinging. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The minute hand crept forward. 7:17. "Aren't you afraid you'll forget your wife?" Anne asked. He shook his head. "Remembering isn't about keeping the hand still. It's about how you live the minutes that come after." That night, the shop stayed open late. Neighbors visited, shared stories, brought dessert. All the clocks inside began ticking, each slightly offbeat, forming a strange but beautiful symphony. And finally understood, time isn't there to compete with others. Time is there to help you see where you stand. And sometimes, to move forward, you must dare to wind the spring of your past, not to relive it, but to let it guide the present. After hearing the stories, what did you feel? What did you recognize in yourself? Leave a comment and let me know. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you can hear more stories like this on the next nights